Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, the #1 YouTube channel for you to level up your communication skills. Learn the art of public speaking, social skills, and personal branding to take your message to the world. For today's episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to leverage curiosity in order to become a confident communicator. A while back, I used to think that curiosity was something that just sort of happened. You're just going about your day, minding your own business, and then boom, out of nowhere, you were very curious and you had to get the answers. But by the time that I joined Toastmasters, I started to realize that approach was a little different. I started to learn that you could consciously focus your mind in a certain way where you become curious. And that insight alone allowed me to resolve my speech anxiety. That insight alone allowed me to hate public speaking, to start viewing it as a hobby. Now you may be wondering, whoa, Armani, you're saying that using curiosity helps you overcome speech anxiety? Yes. And today's video is going to shed some light into that, and you'll start to learn as well in this video that a lot of your communication issues are coming because you're not being curious at the right time. You're stuck in the output state when you should be in the input state. That statement right there is going to make a lot more sense around the end of this video. So make sure you buckle up because this is going to help you shift your paradigm regarding curiosity. If you're ready, make sure you drop a like and let us begin. A while back, when I was working as an engineer, we had to do a thing called black box testing. I don't want to go too detailed in it, but I want you to get your imagination involved. Imagine that I give you a black box. You don't know what's inside this black box. You don't know how it works. That's none of your concern. You have this black box, and on one side, there's a big red button. And on the other side, there's a screen that lights up. I tell you, Johnny, once you click this button, the other side of the screen needs to light up red. If it doesn't do that, that means the black box is not working. Simple? And you agree, yes, it's simple. So we began our test. You click the red button and we wait. The other side of the black box turns red. Mission accomplished, the black box works perfectly. What this example went on to show was that there were 3 variables that were involved in this black box testing. The input, which was the red button, the black box, the entire system, and the output, which was the red light at the end. 3 systems which comprised of the black box testing. And these 3 systems can also be applied into the communication skills world. In the communication skills world, you are the black box and you have the ability to either input or output. You can input information or you can output information. That's it. That's the very high level overview of communication skills. When you are inputting information, you are listening or you are reading. That's input. And when you are outputting information, you're speaking or you're writing. That's it. That is it. And you may be wondering, that's all communication skills comes down to, huh? Yes, that's all it comes down to. And when you start realizing this, you see that inputs and outputs are all around you. Now, let's see if you're understanding this concept. How would you feel if 2 people in an interaction are both outputting information at the same time? It'll feel a little weird, right? Because it's going to be 2 people consistently talking over each other. So what could make this smoother? What could make it smoother is when one person is outputting information, the other person is inputting information, and vice versa. By consistently switching in a very harmonic pattern, what happens is that now you have a solid conversation. You don't just have one person talking the entire time and the other person not saying anything or they're just butting heads. You don't have all that. It's just input, output, input, output. Now, here's the thing. In today's world, your ego is getting you to keep on outputting information. I mean, think about it. A lot of your communication failures comes down to you outputting too much information. You keep talking and talking and talking, bragging about yourself in situations where you don't need to be doing that, and you're bringing too much focus on yourself for no reason whatsoever. I'm not saying focus is bad, but when you're doing it in a way where it's hurting your likability, then you're not becoming a solid communicator. You're being a very bad one at that. What you should be doing is you should be inputting information. Well, Armani, if inputting information is so important, how come more people don't do it? Inputting information requires a lot of conscious power. And typically the mistake that we make is that we try to focus. And when you try to focus, I mean, if you just think about it, that just sounds like work. And it makes your brain feel as though it's working. So when you're trying to focus on something, your willpower is slowly being diminished. So you can do it, don't get me wrong, and it may be effective for a certain burst of time, but if that's your only strategy, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So what do, Armani? Well, instead of focusing, what you should start adopting is becoming more curious. Because when you're curious, rather than putting in all this work, you sort of just suck in the information. I'll give you an example. Like nowadays, I can't watch a full basketball game from beginning to end. I just don't have the time like that. So what do? Once the basketball game is done and once I do have some time, I'll just check the box scores. The fact that I'm so freaking curious about the scores just allows me to absorb all that information. I'm not focusing on shit. I'm just being curious about the game and I'm just absorbing the information. Now imagine if you took that level of curiosity with you to conversations. It'll be a lot easier because a lot of the times when you're just wondering, what do I say? You're just stuck in the output mode. Instead, you become more curious of the other person, and at this point, you're just seamlessly absorbing the points that they're making so you can be more strategic in what you say as you output information. Now, this is huge in terms of public speaking because what happens is your speech anxiety is at an all-time high right before you're about to get on stage. And what you start doing is that you get caught in the whole output mode. You just keep thinking, how do I say this? What do I say? Oh, no, I'm so nervous. While in reality, if you've practiced, you're good. Fall back and switch states. Go from output to input. Become more curious. Now you may be wondering, wait a minute, Armani, you're telling me to be curious right before my speech? I mean, what do you want me to do? Just go up to each person and talk to them? How do you want me to be curious? Well, here's the thing. You don't only become curious through your ears. You can also become curious through your eyes. That's a huge insight right there because right before you're about to get on stage and you've prepared already, you're good to go. What you should be doing now is just observing the scene around you. Be very, very curious of everything around you. Be very curious about your body sensations. What you'll notice is when you start becoming very curious about the audience that you're going to be presenting in front of, you start noticing little mannerisms that they're involved in. You stop seeing a crowd and you start seeing individuals. That's huge. You start seeing that Susie is playing with her phone a lot. You see Rachel is thinking about something. She's taking some notes and thinking about something. You see Matt and John fighting about something. And overall, it's allowing you to individualize this crowd. No one wants to go speak to a crowd because when you speak to a crowd, what happens is automatically you feel threatened. You feel as though that this whole army is looking at you, and that's not a pleasant experience. But when you realize that this isn't an army just staring at you, it's just a collection of individuals, that's when you start feeling more confident. All because you're becoming more curious with your eyes. And by the time you get on stage, you have this level of composure to you, this strong level of composure, and it'll show in your voice. Because when you see a crowd, this is how you start talking. You're trying to talk to 30, 40, 50 people with just one voice, and you're trying to spread out the voice duration to all these people. But when you start seeing individuals, you start speaking to one person at a time. Remember, you're just having conversations with people. So before you get on stage, that's when you want to be more curious. You want to switch from output state to input state. And by the time you get on stage, that's when you can go back to output state and start delivering your speech. The more practicing that you get, you'll start seeing that you can do both at the same time. And you can do both at the same time if you really practice your speech, because if you practiced enough, at a certain point, you can give your speech on autopilot. And as you're giving your speech on autopilot, you have more of an opportunity to input information. You're very curious about the audience. You notice for certain points that this individual just looks very lackadaisical, just sitting like this, while this other individual is looking at you like this, hanging on each and every single one of your words. So if you're being strategic, you'll give this individual less attention and you'll give this individual more attention, all because you were curious. In the communication skills world, curiosity is going to be a huge component, because if you're saying the right things to the wrong person, then at the end of the day, you're saying the wrong things. That's just what it comes down to. You have to know the person that you are speaking with, whether you're trying to give them advice, whether you're trying to tell a story, whether you're trying to make a YouTube video, etc. Curiosity will help you understand who you are speaking with, is going to allow you to recalibrate yourself, and then when you are outputting information, you're going to do it much more strategically. You know what I always say? You shoot a bow at the heart and you aim your way towards the head. And the only way that you can get someone's feelings and emotions involved is by being very curious. And like I said in my past videos, imagination and emotions are what it takes to become a great storyteller. If you can't do those two, then you'll be someone who's forgotten. In the sea of ideas, the blue whales are the ones who know how to engage imagination and emotions. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're curious from the very beginning and you know who you are speaking with. So start becoming more curious and start evaluating yourself when you're getting too caught up in the output state, and transition smoothly. Understand the context that you're in and be able to use your judgment along the way. The more curious that you become, the easier your life gets and the more you enhance your communication skills. If today's episode helped you, make sure you drop a like for me right on below and you share this video on your social media of choice. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.